After a long winter and off-season, it is now time for a brand new season of the ISCC Insomniac Elite Series. Of course, however, there are a lot of changes to the roster and the schedule coming with this coming year. One of the more notable changes this year is going to be the introduction of part-time cars. Only 38 full-time drivers are on the grid this season, because every week there are 4 grid slots open for part-time drivers who can attempt up to 4 races. This is to give other drivers an opportunity who may not necessarily have a shot at a full-time ride anytime soon. But it's generally something to try and give more people an opportunity, and I'm looking forward to see just what it brings in this coming season. Preseason testing was held at the Arkansas Speed Bowl. Both layouts of the track were used, the super speedway and the road course, in order to test the capabilities of the cars on 2 types of tracks. And now, without further ado, let's get down to the track and show you the 14 new teams I'll be contesting this season. We will be starting with last year's team champion, S-Free Motorsports. Now, with the new rule changes, there are only a max of 3 full-time cars per team. So keep that in mind as we go through. Charles Sanford, last year's runner-up, returns to his number 24 car. There were rumors of retirement, but after finally having his breakout season, those were quickly debunked. Sanford was very strong last year, and I would expect him to be a contender once again this year. Seth Cole once again returns to the team, driving his usual number 25 car, now with Napa Auto Parts on the hood of that machine. Seth Cole, he wasn't too happy with his performance last year. He ended up being a little underwhelming. Seth Cole was 14th in the championship last year. He did not win a race. It was not one of his better seasons, and he's hoping to get back on form this year. One of the biggest moves in silly season, however, it was with Jordan Davis pulling out of the series, vacating the 48 car despite having a great season. What happened after that was even more interesting, though, as Charles Sanford went on to hire the young Russian Niko Polyakov to drive their 48 car. Now, Polyakov, he turned heads last year driving for Blackstorm Motorsports in one of their underfunded cars, and he had some very solid performances. He wound up 33rd in points, but you gotta remember his car is not very good. For comparison's sake, his teammates were in 49th and 62nd. Yeah. So Polyakov, very strong driver, and I cannot wait to see. He's a very talented young driver, and I can't wait to see what he can do in top-tier equipment. Now, I will be handling a lot of part-time cars by themselves. However, if one of the full-time teams has entered a part-time entry, I will get to them right away. So, in that case, here is S-Free's part-time entry, which is the 5 car. They demoted that number. I mean, why not? That number has been very unlucky for them. Anyway, this year, that part-time car will be driven by probably the star driver of their young driver program, Canadian Mark Halbert. Halbert's still going to be running the junior series, but he's going to be running a couple of elites races this year in order to prepare for a potential full-time ride in the future. Next up, we've got possibly the favorites for the championship, the Canadian team Hamilton Autosports. They've been very strong in preseason testing, and I would not be surprised if they won the championship. They've been extremely strong, especially on the road course. They'll be ones to look out for. In the returning to the 11 is Tyler Faber. After having a breakout season last year, scoring 2 wins and finishing 12th in the points, he's definitely proven that he's got a lot of talent to give. If he can stay consistent, he could definitely be a threat for this title, or at least be a dark horse. Sean Angel is going to be driving once again. Hamilton's owner-driver is going to be running a new number this year, however. He's going to be running the number 14. Oh, there's not a lot of changes. There's not a lot of changes there, sponsor-wise. That car is still running Home Depot. Angel, he is a force to be reckoned with. He was a title contender last year, and he won the prestigious Driver of the Year award. Although he ultimately wound up 4th in the championship, you gotta remember how close it was last year, and I think Angel will definitely be one to look out for. However, possibly one of the favorites for the championship is... Another one of the favorites for the championship, though, is going to be Ryder Smith, who was retained by the team, now driving the number 18 car. Smith was a contender for most of last year, but he unfortunately lost form in the second half and wound up 8th in the championship. But now with more experience under his belt, Smith is definitely going to be one to look out for. Meanwhile, Alan Cavagnaro is still at the team, although he has now been demoted to a part-time role. Cavagnaro is one of those drivers who has kind of struggled with transitioning to elites. He's a great Slim Jim Series driver, but in the Elite Series, he's just not been able to transition well. Last year, he wound up 26th in the championship. Not a great year at all. He'll still be running some races. He'll still get a chance to prove himself, but unfortunately, we'll probably not be seeing much of him this year. Now, on to RJ Manson Racing. I would also watch out for these guys. They've been very strong in testing as well. One of the new things this year are split cars, where 2 drivers can split a car in a joint effort towards the championship. I bring this up because the free car will be split by 2 drivers this year. The first of which is the Aussie Connor Atwood. Last year, Atwood broke out of his Season 2 slump and finished 5th in the championship, although he still has yet to return to victory lane. He has not won a race since Season 1, and Atwood this year is going to be looking to break that streak, and he was very, very strong on the road course test. He may be one of the few, he's honestly one of the few people that have had an answer for the Hamiltons in preseason testing, and he will be one to look out for. The other driver he's sharing the car with, however, is Carl Sanner. Now, Sanner did not have a particularly great year last season. He finished 25th in the standings, but he did win that thriller in Daytona, which was probably a very memorable victory for the guy. And, well, yeah, this year, however, Carl Sanner announced that he will be retiring at season's end, and this is going to be a retirement tour for Sanner. Sanner's been a household name for us in the IRCA and the old IRCA for many years, and it's going to be a tragedy to see him go. But, well, things change. People retire, and that's unfortunately, and we're unfortunately going to be seeing that once again. However, on a brighter note, we'll move on to the next car, the 29 AOL machine of Kyle Collins. Collins is still with the team after a bit of a mediocre first season at the team, finishing 22nd in the championship. He scored 8 top 10s and only 1 top 5, and he also got a pole. He's looking to improve this season. He kind of failed to hold up hype after winning Rookie of the Year and moving to the Manson team, and he's going to try and impress some people. Try and prove the doubters wrong that he can race at the top level. And then the third car, it is going to be the 31 of Nick Pericles. I mean, Pericles does not need much of an introduction. He's one of the more recognizable names in the series. Although last year was another disappointment for the Floridian-based driver. Just like Season 2, he started off very strong, but he fell off form rather quickly. Although this time, it wasn't quite as nasty of a fall-off as in Season 2, and he did come home with a 10th place finish in the championship, albeit winless. Pericles is going to be looking to return to victory lane this year and wanting to have a much stronger season. If he can just keep that early season consistency going, he'll probably be a contender. And then they have a part-time car here, the 32, which will be driven by a young hotshot driver, Ryan Manson. Ryan is indeed the son of team owner RJ Manson, and he will be racing with their team in the Junior Series this year. Very young driver, and it's going to be exciting to see what he can do in that machine. Yeah, personally, I can't wait to see what this kid is capable of, because this is the driver that's probably going to be carrying on the legacy of RJ Manson. Now, moving on to the next team, the Wrecking Balls. Now, last year was a bit of a sobering season for the Wrecking Balls, as they lost out the drivers' championship, and they had some seriously bad moments last year as well. Most notably, inconsistency generally just costing them big time, but they're going to be looking to redeem themselves once again, and once again be at the top of the mountain. The driver mainly looking to do that is, of course, your double world champion Cosmic Nova. Nova was finally knocked off his throne last year by DJ Curtis, and he's looking to redeem himself. He wants to go out there and win the world championship for a third time. Nova is one of the top drivers in stock car racing right now, and he's really someone that needs no introduction, to be honest. Yeah, last year he was third in the championship, but is arguably the most consistent driver. This year, well, if he can just get that general performance up, he's probably going to be just as strong as we would expect him to be. Now, someone who was really shocking last year was Maxwell Chan. Now, he had already had his breakout season back in Season 2, but he extended that into this year, scoring an insane 4 race wins. However, this didn't mean much in the end, as Chan fell off form horribly in the second half and wound up 7th in the championship. Chan is once again returning to the team, though, with his number 51 machine, now with McDonald's on the hood. Oh, I forgot to mention Cosmic Nova and Cosmic Nova and Season 1 sponsor Target have been reunited. That's nice to see. And McDonald's also working with the team still. They were sponsoring Cosmic Nova last year, but they are on the hood of the 51 this year. And then, of course, in the 98, you've got the fan favorite, the Louisianan owner-driver Chris Louvier. And last year was, well, let's be honest, it was another typical year for Chris. Had some strong... Although this is probably his best year so far, because this was his best year for pace. Last year was his best for pace by far, and he wound up 16th in the championship. He did score another race win last year, but inconsistency proved to be his downfall once again. This year, Chris is wanting to finally break that trend and maybe be a dark horse for the championship. We'll have to wait and see. Now, moving on to the next team is Team Thunder. Team Thunder last year was very frustrating for that operation, as they had a lot of bad luck and retirements everywhere. It was not a good year for them at all, and it's going to be very... And they're really not set... I don't know if they're set to do much better this year, considering that their most experienced driver, William Duncan, has... the owner-driver, William Duncan, has retired as a full-time driver. He's still going to be running some races, but more on that later. But yeah, without their lead driver, it's going to be interesting to see what direction this team heads in. His sibling Matt Duncan, though, is going to be once again returning to the number 6 machine. He had a bit of an underwhelming rookie season, ending up 27th in the championship without any wins or poles. Although you got to remember that in the Slim Jim series, he had a very poor rookie season followed by a very strong sophomore season. So who knows? Maybe that'll be in the cards once again for the junior Duncan. In the number 17 this year is going to be Ray Krager. Brandon Wood's still at the team, but more on that later. Ray Krager moves up from the junior series, and he is going to be the first rookie. He's the first rookie we're covering here. He was kind of overshadowed by Alyssa Kirby in the Junior Series last year, but he still has a lot of talent, and I'll be looking forward to seeing what he can do in that 17 car. Then the 74 is going to be a split car between Brandon Wood, who remains at the team. Wood sort of had a breakout season last year. He was strong in the first half, which included him finally scoring his first race win in this series. But he fell off form in the second half and wound up 20th in the championship. He's going to be looking for redemption and trying to be a contender all year long this time around, especially since he may be the backbone of the Thunder team this year, so the pressure is on for Wood to perform. He'll be splitting the car with Polish driver David Walczak. Now, Walczak, he actually had a pretty solid season. Walczak's not exactly been known for his performance, but it seems like he may have finally found his home here with the Thunder operation. He won the season opening race in Arkansas last year, and he finished a rather decent 18th in the championship. He could have been higher, though, because he was very strong on pace in the road courses, although inconsistency and lack of stability ended up hurting him in the championship in the end there. He's got another chance, though. Not going to be running every race since he's splitting the car, but we will see what he can do, especially since he's going to be running a majority of the road courses in that car. And then finally, William Duncan. He retired from full-time competition after last year. He will still be running races, though, in his number 97 machine. The Viagra sponsorship has moved over to them. I forgot to mention Matt Duncan bringing over his FUD sound system sponsorship from past Slim Jim Series seasons. Those two have been reunited. Ray Krager's got Conway Freight, and the 74 combination of David Walczak's running Maverick Robotics, whereas the Brandon Wood has acquired sponsorship from the Saya Trucking Company. Next up, we have Dodge Motorsports. Dodge Motorsports really just all around in the ISCC last year was quite poor for Dodge Motorsports. They performed poorly in this series and in the Slim Jim series. They were just kind of underwhelming overall, despite a few strong performances. This year is going to be this year. I think could be an improvement. I think this year could be an improvement, but I don't know. I honestly can't say some of the driver stuff going on with them. Starting off with the number 40, we've got Reese Black once again returning to that team. However, much again similar to Carl Sanner, the IRCA veteran has announced this to be his final IS season. He will be retiring from competition once this year is over. Reese Black was finished third in the championship in Season 2, but this was followed by an underwhelming Season 3 where he wound up 17th in the championship without a win. With this being his last season, Reese Black's hoping to go out of a bang, and I will be looking forward to seeing what becomes of him. James Shelley once again returns to the team, though, in the renumbered 41 car. James Shelley was Dodge Motorsports' ace last year, scoring 2 race wins, but just to show you the team's troubles, he wound up 11th in the championship. Shelley and Dodge both hoping that this is going to be an improved season, and I really do hope that this ends up working out for them, because Shelley is a talented driver and a class act of the field. Probably one of my personal favorites on the grid, and I'll be looking forward to seeing him racing once again. But the 42 is a bit of a weird one, as their previous driver Jeffrey Fingai left the team after the previous season. They have replaced him with Ryan Acosta. Yes, really. Ryan Acosta, the ex-IndyCar driver, did not perform last year at all. Last year was a disaster for Acosta. He wound up 34th in the championship. He really did not seem like himself last year. So, some people have found it a little odd that he's been hired to this team, but team owner Paul Schaefer said that Young Motorsports just was not, that he and Young Motorsports were not, that Acosta and Young Motorsports were not working together very well that year. And I guess it's not surprising. Things just had not been working out for that operation last year. More on that later, but last year was a terrible, terrible year on all fronts for that team. Acosta's hoping this is going to be a much better work environment, and he does have talent. He was a top-line driver in the IndyCar Series, and he is a race winner in the Elite Series, and I'll be looking forward to seeing just what he can do in the Dodge machine. And then we have the part-time 75 car, which will be driven by Italian Marco Rossi, who will be also running in the Slim Jims. He will also be running in the Slim Jim Series this year. And we don't really know much of what he can do in a stock car. He doesn't have much experience in them. We'll have to see what happens there. Wilhoit Developments is the next team, although they were bought out in the off-season. Now, they're still on the grid, although they are now Audi Team Jost. Audi is going on the grid this year. They brought two shiny silver machines to the track here in Arkansas. And they've kept Wilhoit Development's driver lineup. Tristan Wilhoit and Ali Nelson returned to the team in the 16 and 96 respectively. Wilhoit had a pretty quiet season last year. He was fairly consistent, but he did have some strong pace, but overall he was generally just very quiet, and he finished 19th in the championship. Ali Nelson, on the other hand, was very strong, scoring 2 race wins, although inconsistency was her downfall as she wound up 21st in the championship. But with that race-winning talent of hers, if she can find some consistency, she will be a contender for some good points. Yeah, the Audi team has not exactly been particularly quick in testing, but I guess it shouldn't be too surprising because that is a brand new operation. I would expect them to improve in the future. And I would not count them out during this season. I think there's gonna be some good results from that bunch, because it's still a good team, and there's still a lot of staff from Wilhoit Developments, and I would expect some performance out of them. Now, a team that I won't expect performance out of is Young Motorsports. Young Motorsports, they fell apart last year. I don't know what was going on within that team, but they were not working at all. And as I've seen the team bring their cars to the track this week, I can't but feel like that has continued as the young cars still appear to be lacking in pace. I don't know what is going off that team. Maybe they're having financial troubles, but but I'm guessing there's probably been some staff turmoil as well, considering they've got 2 brand new drivers on the grid this year. Dylan Young, unsurprisingly, does return, though. He is the owner-driver. He returns to his number 2 car. And last year was, oh boy. Last year was a failure, to say the least, for Dylan Young. It was a huge fall down for a typically talented driver, as he caused some rather silly incidents and ultimately wound up 29th in the championship, winless. He's going to be trying to improve this year, but man, Young, it was absolutely horrible. He needs to get his act together after that terrible season of his. The 12 car this year is going to be seeing Aiden Shepard behind the wheel. I don't really have a lot of knowledge about him. I think he may have run some sports cars before and some short track racing. He's not really had a lot of experience in these. He doesn't have any experience in these kinds of vehicles. So I'm very curious to see what he can do, considering that there's really no indicator of what he's capable of. Same goes for the driver number 22, William Brock. Brock will be running in the Slim Jim Series this year, however. He's joined the Baby Tribe 5000 over there. He's running 2 series and going to be trying to gain experience there. It's going to be a development year for Shepard and Brock. This is not the best team for them to be at, but it's definitely a start, and it's probably one of the better teams for the rookies this year, to be honest. Like, they still have some pace. Like, I think their performance may have... I feel like the performance of Dylan Young has been better this year, but the other cars have been struggling poorly. But we'll just have to see what becomes of them this year, because I can't really say much about them. It really does seem like the turmoil is still going on there. A team that is not in turmoil, though, is Ian Masterson Racing. They had an absolute stunner by their standards last year, which included the will probably be a now infamous moment with Danny Everett taking home a race victory for the team in Germany. Everett is unfortunately not with the team anymore, but they've got a pretty decent driver lineup to compensate. Everett's replacement in the Aaron's Dream Machine, now renumbered 26, is the Canadian Jacques Descook. Descook had a rather mediocre season last year, but we have seen what he's capable of. He showed his talent in seasons 1 and 2, back with CBM, but of course he was left without a ride after CBM closed their doors at season's end. But he's found a new home at Ian Masterson Racing, and he's going to be looking to redeem himself and after his mediocre season free, and to prove everyone that he is still capable of racing here in this series. You know, Lewis Duran returns to the number 55 after a fairly anomalous rookie season. The Slim Jim Series driver did not do amazing last year, but I mean, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. This is his first time in these cars, and it's not a top-tier team. So we'll just have to see what happens of Duran this year. I do have faith in him. He's proven his talent in the Slim Jim Series over the years, and he's proven time and time again that he does have the talent to contend. Meanwhile, they will be running a part-time car, and they'll be running the number 00 actually for their lead junior driver, Paul Swanson. Swanson had a very unlucky season on junior last year, but he has proven his talent multiple times in the past, and really he did prove his talent a few times last season as well, even with his bad luck not really getting him the results he wanted. Swanson has attempted many an IES race and has never actually been able to make his debut, unfortunately. But part-time cars all have to race their way in, so Swanson will finally get to make his IES debut. And the Canadian will probably be hoping to make the most of that opportunity. Now, Young Motorsports was going through a lot of turmoil last season involving staff, but I don't know what happened to the Tauger Racing unit. I mean, I know they don't have the same funding as they used to, but I don't know what happened last year. Those cars were terrible. However, this does look like it's going to be this is looking to be a much better year for the Austrian team, however. Their new driver lineup shows a lot of promise, and so does their car, as they've actually been clocking in some pretty decent pace in preseason testing. I'm expecting this to be a much improved season for that team. The team's only returning driver, however, is Phyllis Theodore. I mean, not surprising, she's basically their lead driver, and she led the way for that operation last year. She may have wound up 31st in points, but you gotta remember that car was an absolute nightmare to drive. She got a podium in Willow Springs, which is a very impressive performance from her. Fedor is a pretty talented driver, as she's proven in the past that she is a former race winner. The Season 1 Rookie of the Year going to be trying to get some solid points once again, looking to return to being a contender once again. Now, I mentioned during the mention of Masterson that Danny Everett has won. He won in Germany with the Masterson team last year, and really, he had a lot of impressive drives in that 00, and ultimately it had netted him a drive with TRU. Everett will be driving the number 56 Spinner Rotors machine there for the Tauger Racing unit. And this could finally be Everett's big break. Because his driving's improved, he's at a decent car. This could be his big break. Then in the third car, the 76, we've got another rookie taking to the grid here. This being the Irishman Chris Argus Smith. Now, Argus Smith turned heads last year when he showed up to the Sony 400 with Mach Free Motorsports and performed quite well. He didn't quite get the finishing position he wanted, however, in that race. However, when PJ Williams was released from the team later that year, Smith was called up by TRU to step into the 8 car, and he did a pretty decent job. He was unfortunately quite unlucky, but he actually managed to score some points for the team, and they've decided to bring him on board for a full-time season this year. And he'll be looking. It's not a rookie. I'll be looking forward to seeing what he can do. And then moving on, we've got everybody's favorite back markers, the Baby Tribe 5000. The Alex Perkle-owned team will be returning once again. Unsurprisingly, the Perkle siblings, Jason and Alex, are returning to the 08 and 28 cars respectively. Now, Jason was actually kind of impressive last year with some of his performances in the Slim Jim series. And he had flashes of pace in the Elite season as well, but he wasn't quite as strong there. He wound up 35th in the championship, but he was still the lead driver at Baby Tribe 5000. He was still the lead driver in the championship for that team. Alex, meanwhile, had a very messy season, with a lot of controversy surrounding that driver and also a lot of last place finishes. Alex wound up 38th in the championship, albeit with a rather surprising pole in the round of Austin, in the Austin doubleheader. I forgot to mention Louis Duran got a pole in the Austin doubleheader as well. So that's kind of proof of the talent that he had. Alex Perkle does have talent as well, along with Jason, but Alex is kind of masked behind a large amount of crashes. Yeah, we'll have to see what becomes of him. And then the third car has a new driver once again. I don't know what happened to John Amati. I guess he was released. But yeah, taking his place is going to be Chris Dodd. Once again, he's not really known around the stock car scene. He'll be running in the Slim Jim series this year, however, with Pontiac Motorsports. And it'll be interesting to see what he can do. We've got a few young drivers. Without a clear backstory, and those are probably the most curious ones. After all, Ryder Smith did not have much of a backstory in stock car racing, but he came in and performed very strongly. So we'll have to see what happens. The next part, okay, Blackstorm Motorsports. I would be talking about Blackstorm Motorsports, but it's a bit complicated there. Last year Blackstorm made their debut and weren't even remotely good. That was a very underfunded operation. Blackstorm Motorsports was a sports car team with management from both American and German staff. Although apparently during the off season there was a falling through. The German part of the team left the stock car operation, leaving the American staff remaining. And I don't really know what's going on with that team funding wise. I can't really say much about them because they did not show up to testing. I can tell you right now that they did announce their driver lineup. They had number 66, 68, and 69 car. 66 was being driven by Gall Redlick, who's returning to the team. The 68 being driven by Frank Malkov, who, I guess you could say he turned heads in the 400 qualifiers. He showed up with an underfunded team in the 400 qualifiers and did not perform particularly well. And then the 69, they've got the infamous Slim Jim Series driver Binky Louvier, who is going to be making her full-time debut in the Insomniac Elite Series. I can't say I'm looking forward to that. But we have no idea what the pace of those cars are, because, like I said again, they did not show up to testing. We do not know how fast these cars are. But whenever a team... That's usually something relating to funding, so considering they didn't show up, and we know their funding situation, I'm a little worried. But let's move on to a team that has me a lot less worried, which is one of the brand new teams, Shelley United Motorsports. The junior team announced their intentions to compete in the top tier this year, and they've got a very, very strong lineup taking to the track for their first season. In the number 62 car, they promoted their young driver Tamor DeLise, or Tamor DeLise. Yeah, the Bosnian driver has impressed time and time again in the Junior Series, and he's going to be getting his big break now. Going to be making his IS debut here with his team. However, here's the big deal: the 78 car. Do you know who's driving that car? Well, it's none other than your reigning world champion. Yeah, that's right. I don't know how it happened, but some managed to get their hands on DJ Curtis, last year's world champion who was left without a ride because of CBM's closure. Say at least a driver as experienced as him is going to do the team a lot of good. A young team definitely needs the expertise of an experienced driver to help them grow and develop, and DJ Curtis is about one of the best people you could get. And that's not all. Their third driver in the number 92 car is Jeffrey Finguy, another very experienced driver who, well, there's a lot of controversy surrounding him and Dodge Motorsports last year, but it died down the second half of the season, and it was during that part where Finguy proved exactly what he was capable of, scoring 2 race wins in the European Tour and actually being crowned a European Tour champion. So, yeah, I got 2 very talented very strong veteran drivers and a very talented rookie taking to the track with Chile United Motorsports. They haven't been the quickest in preseason testing, because I wouldn't be surprised. That's still a young team, but I would expect them to improve. And really, considering their driver lineup, I would not be surprised if they pick up some points this season. And then finally, the last full-time team, it is BMW Team Deutschland, a team rising from the ashes of Cybertron Motorsports. BMW decided they were not completely done. They weren't completely done of elites, and they showed up with one full-time car, which will be driven by Australian Zachary Fitzwater. Fitzwater did not have a great season last year. He was quite poor, actually, although he did have some solid form in the second half, which promoted him to 23rd in the championship. But Fitzwater, after his promising rookie season back in Season 2, this was a very underwhelming year for him. He got released from Dodge Motorsports, and this right here of BMW is going to this is probably a make it or break it season for Fitzwater. He needs to show everybody that he can drive that machine, or else his career could be in trouble. They did enter a part-time car, however, a number 60 car. They explicitly said that it will be only showing up to the European races, and that's because they have acquired the services of top-tier Formula X driver Paul Schneider. Yes, really, the multi-time world champion, one of the top young drivers of the current generation of motorsports. Yes, that Paul Schneider. He wants to continue trying out stock cars, but he wants to focus on his open wheel efforts. So he'll be running some of the European races this year, and I am definitely looking forward to seeing what he can do on a road course, because this will be the first time we've seen Schneider run on a road course in this series. Well, that's all the full-time teams that'll be contesting the brand new season of the Insomniac Elite Series. Although I will be now going over some of the fresh part-time teams that'll also be showing up at select races this year. First up, we have Pontiac Motorsports, with bringing a number 0 car to the grid. Pontiac returned to motorsports in a big way this year, as they also announced their intention to compete in the Slim Jim Series with a multi-car team. Who they're bringing to the table for elites, though, is going to be Dejan Weeks, who is also working with them in the Slim Jim Series. Weeks is known for his efforts in the Sony 400 last year, driving for Z-Wing Racing, where he was easily one of the most impressive drivers. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in the Pontiac team in the Slim Jim Series, and I'll be curious to see what he can do over here in his few races. High Voltage Auto Sports will be running a few races this year with Cinder Komori in a number 4 car. Not too surprising, I'd say, because Komori Komori has expressed a lot of interest in running in the Elite Series, and she'll be getting a solid taste of competition here before possibly making an attempt at full-time next year. Next year. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you never know in motorsports, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because Komori, like I said, Komori has stated her interest in running the Elite Series. And moving on though, Nexus Motorsports, pretty well-known Slim Jim Series team at this point. They will be fielding an Elites car They'll be fielding an Elites car this season for one of their brand new junior drivers, Madeline Adkins. Adkins, I don't know a lot of her reputation. I think she's a short track racer, but she's going to be working with Nexus in the Junior Series, and she'll also be running a part-time schedule here in the Elites. And Boost Autosport has brought a two-car team. They bring a two-car team this year. Got a 43-44 car driven by Marcus Bruno and Baron Praxis, respectively. Marcus Bruno raced in Season 2 of Elites and did kind of poorly, but he is returning to the series this year. He's going to be returning to the series this year, running some select races with his junior team. Then Baron Praxis, well, I'm looking forward to seeing him, because it seems like every time he shows up to an Elites race, he performs very strongly. Praxis has proven he has talent. He's a little crash prone, but he has proven his talent time and time again, and I'm excited to see him run multiple races this year. Next up's a rather mysterious team, Marionette. This Italian-based startup opened up just this year and said they're going to be running the European races. As for their driver, they've hired an Italian Formula X driver, Roma Favalli. Favalli is a test driver for FX team Lafitte Formula Racing, but she'll be running some stock car races this year. I'm a little curious to see what she can do. Next up is a team that is probably fairly recognizable. Team Umbrella is returning to the Elite Series on a more consistent basis. I'm quite pleased to see this, because Team Umbrella, pretty memorable operation, started up in Season 2. They kind of fell off the face of the earth in Season 3, but they are back once again. They've brought in Moroccan driver Abdel Jabri to drive their 46. Jabri drove for their team in the Sony 400, and I think he made the show, actually, albeit not performing that well. But he's got an opportunity to run some races with them. The son of Formula X driver Ali Jabri, albeit to see what he can do. And he will be joined by Alex Constantine, once again a driver with no notable background in stock car racing. We'll be racing a lot more of those on the part-time section, to be honest. Past that, we got Horton Motorsports, a rather underfunded short track team that wanted to take a crack at the big stage, and they've brought in a driver named Jack Benton. He races a lot of disciplines of motorsports and is pretty good, generally pretty good at whatever he does. He's just kind of a name that kind of circles around the media pretty often, but he's not really a mainstay in any motorsports. But he's more so I guess of a sports athlete, considering he races literally anything of wheels basically. I wouldn't be surprised if he's raced lawnmowers at some point. But yeah, Benton that's gonna be probably one of the most interesting people on the grid this year. So I'll be keeping an eye out for him. Then we got Mach Free Motorsports. We know them well. They ran the Sony 400 last year and the year before that, and they were very good. Mach Free is a top of the line team, and they're finally running more than just Indy, as they showed up a part-time car this year, and they struck a deal with RJ Manson Racing to run their junior driver Christopher Bryant for a few races this year. So that is definitely a team up that's going to be a very exciting team up there between those two. Meanwhile, after finally making a show in a big way last year, Buick is going to be running a part-time schedule this year. Yeah, Buick is trying to get more active in the IS scene, and we'll be seeing more of them this year with they're bringing back their 67 and 79 cars. They're actually bringing back their drivers from Indy, Rick Boudreau and Jason Evans. Boudreau, again, not much of a reputation outside of stock car racing. He's mainly a short tracker in Louisiana, but he proved he had some talent when he made the show in the Sony 400. And then Jason Evans, well, he doesn't need much of an introduction, but yeah, he's a junior driver, pretty successful one at that, and he'll be running some races this year. Next up we have Z-Wing Racing, which has also shown up to Indy before, and they'll be running some races this year with a young driver by the name of Eli Bright. And Bright, another young driver with no notable background in stock car racing. A lot of young stars looking to take to the stage this year. Then we got Carl Jasper Racing with another driver like this, Tommy Turbo. Apparently at one point they were going to have Marcus Bruno in that car, but then Bruno left the team to go to Boost Autosport, and it kind of got complicated from there. Then next up we have GX Motorsports of Nathan McCain. McCain, a junior series veteran with admittedly not too much success under his belt, but Nathan Dwyer said he was uninterested in running elites, and well, I don't think I need to say much about Nick Norton. I don't think I can say much about him that hasn't already been said. But we'll see. So we'll have to see what the Ohioan does in that 89 car. Then finally we have Dogecoin Racing Team. Oh boy, they're infamous in some circles. They showed up to Indy and the 1 and 70 last year with using cars with rather shaky turbine technology, and they did not make the 1 and 70, but to the surprise of everyone, despite having the infamous the now infamous Slim Jim Series driver Princess Perkle behind the wheel, she made the show, but they did not race as the shaky turbine technology ran into problems and they were unable to start the race. And the scary thing is that they have brought back Princess to drive this car, and furthermore, they are bringing back the turbine technology, and they said they're trying to perfect it, to try and make it better, and that combined and reliability issues combined with that have resulted in them not showing up to preseason testing this year. They got a decent amount of time to get that car ready to go, though, as they will not be running until Willow Springs. Okay, that is all the drivers, although it is now going to be time to go through the schedule. The schedule of 25 rounds that will be taking place over the course of the new season. Of course, the season started in Arkansas. That's why we're having preseason testing here. We'll be having the Walmart Shootout with winners and pole sitters and race. We'll be having the Walmart Shootout with pole sitters and race winners from last year, followed by the opening round in the Arkansas Speed Bowl. Although one major difference is that we'll be running on the road course layout this year for the opening round. Second round will be a return to the Atlanta Motor Speedway, always a fan favorite there. Then we got Las Vegas, which will also be returned to schedule. They repaved and reconfigured the track, so it's a very different looking Las Vegas. Slim Jims will be getting a taste of it first as they're holding their opening round there. And then round 4 we'll be seeing Willow Springs. Yeah, they moved it up this year. So yeah, Willow Springs, known for some rather destructive racing, but also some pretty exciting racing. It's going to be one to keep an eye out for. Along with the next round, which will be at the Dover Motor Speedway in Delaware. Yeah, the well-known speedway there, often known as the Monster Mile, will be running an IS race for the first time this year, and it's going to be a very curious track to be running a race on for these cars to be running on. And I'll be interested to see It's mainly a USSCA track, but ISCC is going to be giving it a shot. Then we got another new track for round 6, which would be the Texas Motor Speedway. ISCC wanted the IS to stay in Texas, but they did not like the Austin track. It was like Austin Speed Bowl. That and the track owners not be able to give enough money resulted in the track being dropped from the schedule. And instead we got Texas Motor Speedway, a speedway track, and we'll have to see what happens there. For round 7, the teams will be returning to Buffalo Downs for the Buffalo Downs dirt track. Round number 8, we'll be seeing them returning to the Rockingham Speedway. They ran there last year as a bit of like a late addition, because they were going to head to Richmond, but due to complications with the track promoters, it was dropped. It was dropped on short notice. Then we got 2 Canadian rounds with the HLR circuit in British Columbia and Road Gatineau in Quebec. And I'll be looking forward to the Canadian rounds, particularly Road Gatineau, as I'm quite a fan of that circuit. Round 11 we'll be seeing a return to Watkins Glen, no surprise there. And then of course, round 12 is going to be the Sony 400. This will be this year we'll be seeing the 3rd running of that event. And we'll be once again returning to the famous Indianapolis Motor Speedway for that event. Round 13 is interesting, we'll be returning to the Michigan International Speedway. We raced there back in Season 1, and had a rather unmemorable race, but the track has since been reconfigured, and we'll be giving the track another go. Following Michigan will be the European Tour with the Silverstone Circuit in England, Gudajors Motorbana or something in Sweden. I can't pronounce that name very well. The Paris Autosport Park, I believe, in France. The Karyala Raceway in Finland, and Carmen Park in Russia. Carmen Park was originally not going to return. Was originally a 1-year deal, but after the stunner of last season, ISCC wanted them to come back. After that, we returned to the States with the Homestead Miami Speedway much later on the schedule this year. And then, well, we got Richmond listed again. Hopefully the track promoters can strike a deal with the ISCC this time, and we'll actually be able to be able to run there, because we do need more short tracks on the schedule. So, we do need more short tracks on the schedule, in my opinion, and it's nice to see that Richmond is on there. So round 21, we'll be returning to Japan, although we'll be heading to the Twin Ring Motegi, as the ISCC did not want to use the Tokyo World Raceway anymore, as they deemed it too dangerous after last season's race. So we'll be returning to the Twin Ring Motegi, which has been the site of some rather infamous moments itself, but most infamously the career-ending crash of Richard Young. However, the track has since been repaved and reconfigured, and it seems to be much safer now. So ISCC decided it was okay to return there. And then got the Outback Raceway Park in Australia, and then the big free, the Decatur Raceway, Talladega Super Speedway, and of course the Insomniac, and of course Fontana Speedway, which will be the host of the Insomniac Championship Night. So with that, we have covered everything you need to know about the brand new season of Insomniac Elite Series competition. And the next time you see us, we will be taking to the track for the first time for the Walmart Shootout. Alright, this has been a production of the ISCC Racing Network, and I'll see y'all then.